Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a fully spoilerly look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 89. Alrighty, now you may have noticed that I did not do a spoiler-free review last week when it dropped. That is because I am busy getting my book Flying Sparks out. The campaign is going on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. The Kickstarter option is a whole lot more popular than I thought it was going to be, but they're both doing fairly well. If you want science fantasy adventure, which is actually, it's on theme with Kaiju number 8, but you've got giant monsters roaming the forest and organizations dealing with them. But if you want to look at some science fantasy adventure about found family and fluff and angst and all of that good stuff, you can go over and check out the links below the video to go get your copy from Indiegogo or Kickstarter. But now, Kaiju number 8. We're going to have a short spoiler-free section, and then we are going where I kind of look at the techniques that Matsumoto is using here. Then we're going to get into the story. But first, there is no way this was 23 pages. I've gone back and counted the individual pages, and yes, 23 individual pages of manga. Matsumoto's usual mix of small panels and half-page spreads, but this just went so fast. It felt so... It seriously feels like I just flipped through two or three pages. That is how smoothly Matsumoto's writing goes. Now, a lot of people have complained about the pacing. When it comes right down to it, when these are in the book form, when people are buying these books, it's going to be... I think 99% of the complaints about this series are going to be alleviated. I understand why people don't like the pacing. I get it. It's not an issue for me. You just gotta wait patiently for the next chapter to come out. But anyway, what happens in chapter 89? Matsumoto uses the excellent technical skills. Now, this isn't so much about art and creativity. This is about long-term planning. This is about technical skill. We see in this chapter, we get the explanation of the conclusion of the fulfillment of something that has been a big, giant question mark from early on in the chapters when we first started getting more information on Vice Captain Hoshina. So from the beginning, we've seen that Vice Captain Hoshina and other characters have these deep emotional scars. And as the story goes on, 10, 20, 30, 40 chapters in, we just come to accept them. That is what makes these characters unique. And then 60 chapters later, Matsumoto just slams us with the backstory that explains those personality quirks that we see in those characters. And all of this time, Matsumoto's been dropping clues that were interesting at the time, but we didn't really think about. And again, this is just a level of technical storytelling skill, of foreshadowing, that is just fantastic. Now, if anybody's listening, I'm going to give you a bit of foreshadowing of my own. Always, if you are publishing a book like Flying Sparks, any book that has, or a comic book, any book that has a ISBN on it, you need to get it registered with the Library of Congress. It costs money. It costs about $65. You go to the Library of Congress. You can pre-register it before it's published. I strongly suggest you do that. In the United States, as soon as you publish something, you have certain legal protections that protect you from copyright. But if you get it registered with the Library of Congress, you get an added layer of legal protections, which, if somebody plagiarizes your work, will make your lawyer very happy. And if somebody plagiarizes your work and you go to a lawyer and you say, here is my registration with the Library of Congress, there's a good chance the lawyer will take that without charging you anything at the time, and will take the winnings, because it's much easier to win a plagiarism lawsuit if your book was registered with the Library of Congress. Anyway, foreshadowing. Way back, we saw Vice Captain Hoshina's power level, and many people wondered. I got to give this to some of the other YouTubers, why is such a powerful officer, someone who can go toe-to-toe with Kaiju number 8, still only a vice captain? Why hasn't he got his own platoon yet? And then we find out it's because that he can't really do much with ranged weapons. And so he's focused entirely on the sword. Also from the beginning, this one was something I did notice. Whenever Matsumoto was drawing Vice Captain Hoshina, Matsumoto's skill in drawing just spiked. Any scene that Hoshina was in, even if he wasn't moving much, you could feel the movement. When I think back, my memory stores those still images of Vice Captain Hoshina in the same way that it would store an actual animated scene. I feel the movement and my brain projects that movement onto the paper. This is a sign of really, really good art. And I know a lot of people don't like these flashbacks, but Matsumoto uses them with such technical precision to answer specific questions that we've had. And again, I think it just comes back to the fact that Matsumoto is in a box. As a creator, he's in a cage. That cage is the standard Shonen Jump story type. And because this is Shonen Jump, this is a magazine that is aimed at 12-year-old boys and promises 12-year-old boys that they will see monsters punching each other. And that is what there's the tourney arc, there's the rivals, there's a certain formula that a manga has to have to be Shonen Jump. And Matsumoto's just stuck in that Shonen Jump cage, and instead of fighting it, Matsumoto's working with it. All right, so how does that manifest in this particular chapter? That was the spoiler-free section. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to tap out now. I'll give you a chance by telling you to go check out the links below the videos to get yourself a copy of Flying Sparks, Dragons, Aliens, and Things That Go Boom in the Night. All right. Spoilers. We get a flashback to Vice Captain Hoshina. And in this flashback, it's nothing world-shattering, nothing world-shaking, but we go, oh, that's why he is like that. So we've all seen the deep mental scars on Hoshina. Do you remember way back in the chapter when he said that when he was fighting Kaiju number 10, he said that he couldn't lose that fight because the only way that he could prove his existence, not succeed, not stand out, the only way that he felt he could prove that he existed was to be useful to Captain Mina Ashiro as her second in command, as the one who lines up the shots for her. So he proves that to her. He proves his existence. And that, at the time, we all felt the pain of that. Oh, you poor kid. But the story continued, the pace picked up, and so we didn't really think much more of it. This is just his character. It's that sort of tragic, my existence depends on a more popular character than me thing is a fairly common shonen trope. But behind that trope, Matsumoto was hiding a backstory that we got a hint in at the outbreak of the war. What was that, back in chapter 69, 70? When a new character was announced that shared the same surname, the same family name, and also carried swords. And we're like, oh, hey, this must be one of Hoshina's relatives. Well, we get that relationship revealed. It turns out that this is Vice Captain Hoshina's big brother. And so, not only is it his big brother, this is the goal that Hoshina has been chasing in the same way that Kafka has been chasing Mina. Apparently, his big brother is better than him in every single way, is probably already was he a captain already? Anyway, well versed in arms, small arms combat skills, smarring capability, small arms capabilities, whereas Hoshina is a master in one specific field, in swords play. His big brother is the master of everything. You know, that sibling, that cousin you have that's better than you in every way and kind of makes you... Anyway, I think we've all had that feeling on some level. We've all been outshined by somebody. And this was just a beautiful bit of backstory. It did not come as a surprise. It was not a shock. It did not upend the status quo. It was just... what Matsumoto did here was really tactical and skilled. Matsumoto made us look at it and goes, oh, yes, that makes perfect sense. There is a satisfaction when something is revealed that doesn't surprise you, but you did not see coming. You just look at it and go, yes, this story could not have played out any other way. Now, as to what's actually happening in the chapter, other than this reveal of Vice Captain Hoshina's backstory, there is this beautiful moment where, when, generally speaking, in manga, when a character sides with the good guys and starts fighting with them, there's generally an attempt to humanize that character, to make the character more sympathetic, to show the character's empathy. And Matsumoto was distinctly avoiding that with one of his plot screw I call them not a plot twist, but a corkscrew plot twist. So you have, after this extremely touching backstory about Vice Captain Hoshina that we get, when Vice Captain Hoshina realizes that his entire life, all he felt was a spare part, a cast off from his older brother. Even though we saw his family being kind and loving and supportive of him, they just seemed to probably worship his big brother. So this really does seem to be, the way Matsumoto is presenting it, it was not that the family was cruel to Hoshina or even that they neglected him. It's just that Hoshina always felt outshined by his big brother. So this is Hoshina's issue, something he needs to face down. And he connects that with Kaiju number 10, because Kaiju number 10, it turns out, was, as he said from the beginning, was just a prototype for a better model of Kaiju. And Vice Captain Hoshina has this moment of empathy with Kaiju number 10, and he's like, yes, this is our battle. We have to overcome this. And we are the same, you and I. And Kaiju number 10 is just like, what are you, what are you talking about? And it's just such a perfect little humor moment. You have these two characters building up to have that classic manga empathy moment, and the evil dude's like, what? No. So he's not even denying it. He just has absolutely no context for what Vice Captain Hoshina is saying. Which is, sad and terrible if you're looking at Kaiju number 10 as a sapient being, as a child of Kaiju number 8. But whereas Kikoru's opponent really knew what she was missing and having that emotional connection, Kaiju number 10 really does just seem to be a straight up will to fight without any emotional connotations except that desire to fight, which kind of makes him less tragic from his perspective and more tragic from an exterior perspective. But it's just funny building up to that classic manga trope and just sidestepping it completely. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Did this chapter read fast? Did it read slow? What did you think of that little moment between Kaiju number 10 and Vice Captain Hoshina, where Hoshina's like, empathetic connection, and Kaiju number 10 is like, what? Anyway, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Human Flying Sparks. Something walks in the forest. Peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Drake McCarty should have died when the flash flood shattered his leg, but something defied the very laws of nature to shield him from the force of the storm. Sworn to keep a secret he doesn't understand, Drake is swept up in a world where trees walk, mountains dance, and stars sing of war. Flying Sparks, 100,000 words of science fantasy adventure set in the Dying Embers universe. Two worlds collide in this science fiction novel, available on Indiegogo for the month of July 2023.